Thank you, Dr. Tim. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Have a good weekend, too.
Have a great show. You too.
Thanks. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of MindShifters Radio, and today is Friday, and it's April the 21st, 2023. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you in the queue to talk to us. And we would love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And I am attempting to find my earpieces. Oh, I just found them. I'll be able to hear and talk a little bit clearer. We'll give Michael just a minute to get dialed in. And I invite you to go to the website, whyagain.org, and look around, click on different links, watch the videos on our YouTube channel, and let me know if you run across anything that's not working right, and I will get it fixed. Send me the URL, the address of where it is, so that I can correct it. And I hope that you participate today if you have questions. I think yesterday we we had to do a show yesterday. We recorded or played the first century Aramaic forgiveness and how it associates with physiology and different so-called diseases, and that actually if you take care of the mind energy of it, that the physical takes care of itself as well. Your body is always telling you to pay attention. And, you know, if it's like, for the most part, my neck or my stomach is where the energy will show up first for me. And so, you know, when one of those things starts acting up, then I go, okay, what is it that I need to look at? What is it I need to deal with? So I hope you enjoyed that show. We had a bunch of things going on and weren't sure that we would get back in time, so that's why we did a pre-recording. Everything is cool. Everything's good. And so we hope you enjoyed it. Does anybody have a question? Press 1, and it puts a hand up. And we'd love to hear from you. We have Aria today. She'd been out sick for over a week, and so we're glad that she's better and she's back with us. So, oops, I had a hand go up, and then it disappeared. So whoever, oh, there it is. Okay. So, goodness, I think that the switchboard's playing with me here. Area code 480, you're on the air. Who do we have?
Yeah, hi, Jeanie. Hi, Michael.
Well, Michael hasn't dialed in quite yet. Let me just walk back here and see if he's having any technical challenges, and then we will take your question. So he is dialing in now. I'm on. It doesn't show that you're on. Hit your unmute button then or something, because it's not showing you're on the switchboard.
Testing 1, 2.
There you are. Okay.
I've been here. I've been here.
Okay. And we have a caller already on.
Oh, great. Let's say hello.
Hi, Michael.
Welcome.
Cecilia.
Hey there, young lady. How are you? How are things in Ohio?
Oh, you know, worksheets.
Okay.
Anybody else would be like,
is there an aspect to the worksheet you're having a challenge with that we can help you with? What's happening?
Well, I guess I have tons of stuff about I was listening to just this morning, I have a VHS of conscious creation or something like that. What do you call it?
Uncreating consciously? Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. And I was listening to the samples of, and I've done this before, but I was listening to the samples of living in poverty, and then you've got your authority figures come by, and what are they saying, and living in, and then ask Ruka the Krucha to let that loose, and then, now go to living in mediocre, and then what kind of messages are you hearing now? Is there anything in there that might be in one of my let's see, I wrote it down, that they, as they see me, actual or implied, that maybe key me into any limitation I bought into from them. And the example that I got a chance to write down was, you just deserve mediocre. You'll never be able to do more. Okay, so I mean, that would have never came to me if I didn't listen to that radio station. I mean, that VHS. But of course, I got that message, right? So, okay, there's another worksheet. So, anyway, so I'm just, all these things I purposely want to come up so that I can remove them.
Right.
So I think I go looking for them now, because when I'm painting my room, I'm listening to the VHS, or I've got a lot of your stuff. And I feel like I am putting myself through an intensive myself. You see what I'm saying?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. What did you come up with that worksheet on that message?
I haven't yet. I haven't had a chance. I had a friend call that I haven't seen for 20 years, and she wants to come up and visit me, and so I had to get ready. But what comes up is, that's, I guess I've got that message in me that, as a matter of fact, poverty is the one I got in me. Living mediocre meant that they buy a house that I live in and live by their rules, but this isn't that house, okay? But I never really allowed myself to even think of having anything. Honest to God, I would have never thought I could get the house that I have now in a million years.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So however that happened, I did pray to God and say, before I found this house, the same day that I found it, I said, I know your will is for me to I never was family because I had run away from my daughter even. I moved to the other side of the country for 15 years, and actually 18, and I didn't get to see her very much. And I said, I was looking in the stars, and she said, I know you believe in family, and I'm, I really believe this is your will, and to have a home where I don't have a neighbor that wants to report me to the Superior Court that I have too many dogs that bark a lot. So that was in Phoenix, and so I said, I know you want me to live as stress-free as possible, and that my dogs deserve a place to live. And as soon as I said that prayer, an hour goes by, and my daughter calls up, and she said, Mom, there's a house 8 houses up that's got 2 acres of land. And I'm like, what? And if you know something, property in Ohio is a lot less than it is in Phoenix. Okay,
Phoenix,
you get
sure,
a lot more. Okay, so I said to her that my prayers answered. My prayers answered. I didn't even see it. They just walked me through with the FaceTime. But,
right.
and so I still have issues, because my house is in Phoenix. Yeah.
So it sounds like a couple of things come to mind and you might just make some notes if this fits.
Sure.
It sounds like the idea of deserving to have or being able to have family. Not so much the possessions or maybe the possessions as well, but just having relationship with family. And, if you just sat like, a mind shifter. Pen ready for a mind shifter?
Sure.
So all of my behaviors.
Is this on the right side or the left side?
Well, this will go on the left side. Mind shift always goes on the left, and then the line, and you do what comes up on the right. So,
right.
All of my life.
Okay.
Every member of my family has approved of, cherished.
Hang on.
Cherished and honored me. Okay. Now, what comes up when you let that thought flow through your mind?
Well, the first thing was, that's painful, and that's not true.
Okay.
And
so that's what you put on the right-hand side.
Okay. Hang on. And the second ride immediately, because I'm doing this kind of work, said, well, that was my reality, but in actuality, they did. I just couldn't see it.
Cool. There you go. So there's a start down the path. Now, with the fact that the last, I think twice we talked, that core family issue came up, I would suggest that you spend, take a time period where your phone is off, you're in your own space, and you spend 3 or 4 hours writing that mind shifter, and then just letting yourself free flow. Any thought that comes up, good, bad, indifferent, this doesn't seem to be related, this means nothing, go ahead and just write it all down and watch what unfolds on the page. And then once you've completed that mind shift, to go back and look at, okay, where are the issues that I perhaps haven't been aware of or haven't know that I need to do work to work through them, and then look at, so which tool, what piece of work I need to do here. Maybe I need to write a responsibility communication to mom. Maybe I need to do the commitment to dad. Maybe I need to, go through each issue that comes up, and which one of the tools are you going to use to clean that up with them and within yourself.
There's a part of me that's afraid that maybe I made it all up.
Okay, so write that. That's what I'm saying. Write that on the right side of the page.
Oh, on the right side?
Yeah, on the right side of the page. That's one of the thoughts that comes up. And so that might be your greatest insight. Maybe you made it all up. Maybe, nothing like what you hallucinated ever happened. And that'd be a wonderful thing to be aware of and clean up if that's true. Because
however,
if you realize...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes.
If you realize that you made it up,
okay,
then you realize what you don't have to recreate, what you can clean up in your mind and be finished with. Most things that people are upset about never actually happened.
Okay. And
or at
you
least
make
they
these
pretend they're
really
upset about
horrible
those things.
These horrible things up, or lies that I make up.
Well, if that content is in your mind, and that's what's resonated by something in the world, remember that perception, one of the basic principles of this work is that perception is a construct of the mind.
Yes.
Nobody has ever seen anything happen in the world ever in their lives with their eyes. Nobody. And 99.9% of the people would laugh at that and say, that's absolutely stupid. Of course I see what's happening in my eyes. Look, I can look at this and then I can reach out and touch it. Well, that doesn't mean you're looking at what's out there. You're looking at your brain's construct, your brain's approximation. Actually, there's a really good video that you might find useful right now if you jump on YouTube and type in Anil, A-N-I-L, Seth, S-E-T-H, and TED Talk. Anil Seth is a, what's his field? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, it's in computational science. And he goes through and shows that the eye, I mean, he's right in line with this work. The eye sees nothing. The eye brings in information, light information, and the brain responds with its best guess about what's happening. And rarely, because everything that shows up as a perceptual construct is from the past, stored information within the mind, rarely does anybody even get close to what's actually happening in the world. People are like walking in a dream. And the way you can tell that you're walking in a dream and what you're dealing with is not actual, even though it's your reality, is there hostility or fear in it. If there's hostility or fear in it, that's a marker that you're not perceiving through your highest faculties, which are keyed to love. And you only are aware through your highest faculties when you're connected to love. Everything else is an hallucination. And they're proving it in the laboratory.
Yeah. Okay.
So as you dismantle those things, then you can start to, you can take responsibility. Gee, Mom, remember when I did thus and so, and I accused you, and I just realized that's all about me, and I'm cleaning it up, and I want to change the dynamic in our lives, and watch how things change.
Wow. You've heard me share some pretty crazy stuff in the last years, and I'm thinking to myself, they're all made up, right? I'm thinking they're all made up. They weren't keyed into love.
Everything that is perceptual is a construct of the mind. And hostility or fear as energetic patterns that accompany what's moving in the mind are the indicator that whatever that information is corrupt data. It's from the past, and it's corrupted data. Think about your computer. You want to do a computation on your computer, but your computer's got corrupt data. What answer are you going to get? You're never going to get a correct answer, an accurate answer. And so as you remove hostility or fear, all of a sudden perception moves to the state of corrected, although even perception keyed to love is not the actuality if it's coming from the mind. You've heard me say it before, in order to heal, we've got to be out of our minds. The mind is just a replicating device that replays whatever's in it. And when we start to take responsibility and, enter into relationships where the purpose of the relationship isn't, you need to obey all my realities, I need to obey all your realities, and blah, 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 but rather we're in this to allow those things that are based in pain and fear and rage and guilt, to allow them to come up, to take responsibility for them, and to move through them so we don't play out these unconscious dynamics that for most people have been going on for generations and generations and generations.
Mm-hmm.
Most people spend, if you go back to that story about the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years, you think about that. Was that a group of people wandering in a hot, sandy place for 40 years? Well, if you look at that desert that they were supposedly lost in, it's about 35 square miles, probably about the size of the city of Dayton. Could somebody be lost for 40 years in that space, especially if they knew anything about astronomy, which that group of people, the Jews, did know astronomy quite well. They wrote about it pretty accurately. So if they were in this hot, sandy place and lost for 40 years, the truth is they could have just looked up and gone, okay, so the sun we know rises in the east and sets in the west. We're going to follow the sun for the next few days, and obviously we'll be out of the desert. But that desert is a code word for the unconscious. And most people spend about their first 40 or so years before they start questioning the perceptual output of their minds. They wander in the desert. And if you take a look, just look at what's happening in the news media. Take any particular personality that keeps appearing in the news media, and notice that if you were paying attention to them 10 years ago, they had a story and somebody was involved. And then if you look back, 8 years ago, they had a story and probably somebody else was involved. And 5 years ago, they had a story and somebody else was involved. And 3 years ago, they had a story and somebody else was involved. And today, they've got another story and somebody else is involved. The story's the same through the whole game, just different people, different players. What's that person doing? They're functioning out of the unconscious. They're functioning out of the desert.
Is the unconscious
when I wake up and go,
too?
No. Unconscious and subconscious are two different things. So when you think about, people ask about, well, how many minds are there? Well, there's only, in terms of the function we're talking about, there's only one mind, and we're talking about as a function of the firing of the content of brain cells. So if I say don't think about the color of your car, brain cells fire, and it serves you up information about the color of your car. So the color of your car is subconscious information. You can access it anytime you want. And when you decide to access it, the information stored in brain cells fires a little stronger than it was a moment ago. And what was subconscious, that is below the conscious threshold, you weren't aware of it, all of a sudden becomes conscious. If I ask you, what's your favorite item of clothing? Well, you know what that is. That's subconscious information, and now you're probably thinking about your favorite, dress or coat or whatever it is. That subconscious information becomes conscious. So the subconscious and conscious are changing place all the time. What's your favorite food? Who's your favorite person? What was your favorite vacation in all your life? All that information is stored in your subconscious, and you can call it up at any moment that you want. Then if I said, okay, so now there's a major piece of work that you've acknowledged you're getting ready to do. What's at the core? What's the core issue of that major piece of work that you know you need to do? What's happening with your breath right now?
Oh, it's this is like this is a big thing for me, what I'm even facing right now, the hallucination, So I'm just sort of just taking a ride right now, and my breath has just kind of gone, whoa. I think this is, wow, how'd this happen that I'm saying it's a hallucination? What is my breath doing? Well, maybe I'm going too fast.
And when the breath shuts down, when the breath shuts down, we tend to hide things for ourselves, and that creates the unconscious condition. The things that even when we want to, we can't access them. So there's conscious, subconscious, unconscious, and it's the amplitude at which that information is firing in brain cells that determine which level that information is at. Kind of like if I've got a radio over here and it's tuned to my favorite FM, nice music, and I'm listening to it, that would be conscious. Now, if I turn the volume down and I retune the station to a different station, I'm not hearing anything, but I've tuned to a different station, and if I turn the volume up to that newly tuned station, I would become conscious of what station it was on. So that would be like subconscious information. And then if I turn the radio off, the radio's still tuned, there's still frequencies moving in it, but I can't hear anything. That would be unconscious. I'm not aware of anything that's there.
Oh, I see.
So the idea, for instance, of the mind shifter, the way that we turn the volume up on something is we've got to provide a resonant frequency, something that matches, that adds energy to it so that its amplitude or its strength intensifies. So if I said, what's your favorite breakfast drink? So we just resonated the brain cells of whatever your favorite breakfast drink are, and you become aware of that information that was stored in your subconscious because we added energy to it. Most people go through their lives just being pushed back and forth by the energies around them in the world, and their whole state of what they call thinking and functioning is based on whatever's resonating in them at any given moment. And so the world pretty much is in control. When you become fully conscious and you clean up your mind, then you can no longer be pushed around by those unconscious dynamics. Something comes in and you look at it and you go, boy, I remember when I'd have been really upset about something like that, and I've cleaned that upset in my mind out of my mind, so I'm free of that. And now I function consciously all the time. I don't believe we're designed to have an unconscious mind. And so this work is about getting rid of the unconscious.
Oh, okay. All right.
Carl Jung says, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will control your life, and you will call it fate.
I see.
When you make the unconscious conscious, and that's what forgiveness does, that's what the mind shifter does, that's what each of the tools is designed for. When you make the unconscious conscious, it's no longer got control over you.
So before I called you guys back, I was working with some stuff that the Nasserean Essenes sent me on how to have joy, and in it there's a lot of excerpts from. Of course, you talk about Thomas Edison, so there's some of that. Then there's Dale Carnegie, and then there's Dr. Napoleon Hill, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm really just focusing on everything that I want, not focusing on what I don't want. And I just felt like this isn't working, and there was nothing about forgiveness in those teachings that I knew of, or getting to the point where I'm finally actually saying, and I'm hearing myself and putting it out there in radio land, that I hallucinated everything. Okay, that's like huge, and I don't think anything that. I don't think there's anything in the other authors. I don't even know if Einstein did it to put that element in it, So I'm just blown away that I'm sitting here and I actually said that, because I was just going to say some, basic questions, just because I do have a question about something seems to be basic, but I have a feeling it's also a hallucination. So, and I ended up going down this road, which I guess I was ready to go down this road. It wouldn't have come up if I did.
When it's time, it's time.
Yeah.
When it's time for sure. Well, joining you and doing those worksheets and getting to the next level, and I'd really spend 3 or 4 hours on that mind shifter and see what surfaces.
Yeah, I will.
All right.
The question that I do have, though, homeopathy. I work with my dogs with it. Sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't at all. And then that's currently for the last 15 years. And in 1997, I had 2 dogs. One got diabetes, and a holistic veterinarian friend of mine said, I have a friend that's a pet psychic. And I said, okay, send her over. And she said, the reason that your dog has diabetes is because I have no joy in my life, and I caused it in my dog. So I want to hear your take on that, and the homeopathy for currently. That wasn't homeopathy then.
Well, homeopathy is using subtle, fine frequencies of, let's say, a particular frequency associated with the disease to stimulate the immune system to throw off the disease. It can be a very powerful form of medicine if you've got a good practitioner.
Okay.
As far as the dog psychic goes, I don't know. I know that I've had humans who've touched into the fact that they have no sweetness in their lives. And that's one of the reasons that they end up, being addicted to sugar and end up with things like diabetes. So the logic makes sense. I've never known any pet psychics, so I don't have much of a comment in that regard.
No, that's fine.
Cool.
Because I'll clear it up I'll clear it up. I believe that if my energy field is not clear, then it can get projected into somebody else, that they take it on.
We definitely influence everything around us. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So I really want to clear up, because I really believe that as I get clean and clear, that they won't have health problems like they do.
True.
Okay.
I agree 100%. All right. You have a blessed one.
Thank you. Okay.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, hey there, Miss Jeanie. Do we have anybody on the phone queue with a hand up, or anything else happening in the chat room?
We do have another hand up, and I believe it's a voice from our past. 517, I think it's Angie.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Angie.
Well, welcome, young lady. We haven't heard your voice in a while. I hope everything's well in your world.
Thank you, sir. It very much is. And I'm calling today inspired with a question. Oh, it's nice to connect to the field.
Welcome home.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, thank you. Nice to be here. So I felt like maybe just for context, because you both know me and historical stuff pretty well, so I feel like landscape and context might be kind of fun just for the framework of the question.
Okay.
Friday was my birthday, And
happy eternal day.
Thank you. We had an event happen that I got to see some triggers that were still present in my apparent physiology. I really appreciate the conversation about hallucination. I'm sitting here asking, do I really want to ask the question after that? Because it's so rich, right? Like my body and its happy form of hallucination in and of itself. So yeah, a lot of stuff was moving. I have a girlfriend who accessed deep rage, like uninhibited rage, and it was no. My trigger was that it was in my proximity. It was actually towards a man in public, a white man. She kept saying, "This is the white privilege thing," and I see what she was pointing at, and I completely validate her experience. And we left the situation. Actually, she got told she had to leave. And we, as in my sweetheart, his daughter, and myself. And then she was driving a separate vehicle, and she left. So it started in motion, this like pulling out of some of those past triggers with my son's dad, and some of so my girlfriend, she was so in the rage, and like the rage was like grabbing her by the face. She really wanted to go to this place where this person, this man got to stay, her language. We had to leave, and she wanted to do violence for him. So my boyfriend stayed on the phone with her and just listened, and we breathed with her, and we were breathing with ourselves because we had a lot happening. Like all of us individually were initiated by this event. So that she did end up going home and not going back and doing violence. And she woke up the next day and was then projecting onto my boyfriend. So that's still like an
onto
open.
Your boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he told her that would be a really inappropriate use of energy. And I think I haven't talked with her yet because there's so much happening for me. I'm like, I have to stay present for my experience right now. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I think what's happening is that he's safe enough to flow some of this energy with. If this is from like deep-seated childhood abuse, and then the person that did the abuse towards her was not held accountable. And
so where are we heading? What's the bottom line here?
Well, I guess I'm not sure. That was like for context. So like there's been all of this healing initiated in my field energetically. So the next couple of days were great, and then I had this moment of realizing I was processing a lot of strong energy, and lots of that stuff is leaving. So my question that I put my hand up for is, yesterday we were in the woods, and I picked up a plant. I mistakenly thought that the plant was mint, and I put it to my nose, and it pricked me. It was a nettle, and it started this tingly that has been so familiar in my experience when the energy really starts to flow, and I'm really tuned in the I would say like turned on and the energy's flowing, my nose would have that same experience in the air quote past. So I'm like curious, have you ever been aware of processing future events, like air quote future, or air quote future, energies?
I haven't caught up with you yet. I'm not quite sure what your question is or where you're going with it yet. But keep talking. Let's see if we can get there. You're saying, okay. Am I hearing you say that you feel like you're tapping into something that hasn't happened yet, and that's bringing something up for you?
I think I was tapped in the air quote past. The energy would really start to flow, and Ruka would be present, and I would allow the movement. That energetic experience of my nose tingling from the nettle, it happened yesterday. But for years now, since 17, which was, I've been aware of it, when it would really start to flow and I would really be able to run the energy. Yeah, it was like, and yesterday I just had this aha, like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I think I was tapping into this moment, this experience, which would be your focus.
My thought would be that the nettle probably, the sting, or maybe there's a little bit of an allergy to the nettle, moved some energy that you're used to feeling in other contexts. Were you at others from the time you were 17 processing energies around this nettle sting? I don't know. It's possible there's a genetic link to something like that. There's a memory. Hard to tell. But what I would do rather than... Go ahead.
I guess my question then is that we only ever process past, air quote past.
No, I'm not saying we can't tap into something that hasn't happened yet. I believe energy, if we listen to the physicists, they tell us that actually time is something we created, and it's really, in fact, one good definition of time that I've heard is it's a way to keep from experiencing everything at once. And so is it possible to process something that hasn't happened yet? I think it's possible.
It's like this. I'm having this experience of seeing more fully and clearly that, I guess I would call it the high note or the full presence of beingness that I would maybe in my mind, according to time, would have put somewhere in the future, like once my work is done or something. But really, it's like right there, front and center all the time. If I allow myself to organize and my awareness to organize around that, rather than whatever else it was tuned to.
Not sure what to say. I don't have an answer for you. It certainly is within the realm of possibility, but
thanks for listening.
Okay. I'm not sure how this ties in. I've sort of not connected it with this friend of yours who was in all this rage. How does this all tie together?
Oh, I think I don't know. I'm thankful for the interrupt when you redirected me to the question. I was just kind of laying the groundwork for what this week has looked like as far as energies that I was processing, and I was aware of the parts of me that kind of had stuck or trapped energies and still had like triggers available in the synaptic neural pathways. And then this experience yesterday was just like an aha, I guess we could say. It was an interesting experience, and I didn't know if it had ever come up before, or maybe you had a past program that I would enjoy listening to or reflecting on, or if you had ever had that experience of like a future, I guess, a future experience processing out, like the energy ahead of time.
Yeah, it's not something I relate to on a personal level.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
And if my thought would be, one of the games of the mind, of the non-being mind, is oftentimes if I could just figure this out. And sometimes in fact, in our codependence workshop, I identify that as what I call the number one pseudo solution of the non-being mind, is if I could just figure this out.
Yeah, I quote you on that a lot.
Whereas,
thank you.
whereas if I can, instead of trying to figure something out, step into that space of connectedness and being, I'm going to get a lot more direct answers from that space than trying to allow my brain to figure it out.
Yeah, I guess if I really, okay. If I really think into like what maybe the impulse that inspired me to put my hand up, it would be to share in the delight of the experience.
So it was kind of like a connected experience, a high experience. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like one of those peak experiences that we sometimes have?
Yeah. Yeah, like an aha.
Cool. Well, holding the space for it.
Well, thanks. And I guess I am kind of questioning too, like maybe I led with that situation because I do desire, support with how best to navigate it in the world.
So when she was in that rage, what did that resonate for you?
In the moment, Travis, that's my sweetheart's name, he stayed on the phone with her and just breathed and listened to her for about 3 hours. Well, it was like inputs.
Wow.
So it was probably
That's dedication.
Yeah.
Nice work, really, Travis.
Yeah, I know. And I was, the speakerphone was on, so I was just breathing and noticing what was happening in my being. And I would say like maybe echoes or reverberation of like panic. But it was really subtle for the most part. Some fear was leaving. There was still a slight inclination to run away. She seemed pretty committed to running. He kept bringing her back to love, and then she'd go right back and justify or attempt to justify vengeance, like really interesting ideas of vengeance too that were I guess kind of surprising to hear from her. This was not something I was aware of. I knew there was pain there, but she had not tapped into this level of pain with me present before.
Sounds like Travis was really holding the space. That's pretty powerful, especially when somebody's in that extreme a place.
But he had his own stuff going on. The trigger for everybody was around his daughter. So, and the way a man had treated her as an employee, that was totally inappropriate and unacceptable. So yeah.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of that in our culture.
Yeah, that's I think what we were trying to point my friend towards is like we don't need more assault or to add to the violence that's already happening. You know, maybe there's a higher way, and so somehow Travis continuing to lovingly and gently redirect in that way somehow landed him in as the problem for her mind, in her mind.
Well, holding the space for healing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Did it seem like Travis's energy was able to shift with whatever was coming up for him?
Yeah, I think so. He did really well through the whole experience. Yeah, I, from my perspective, and like I said, I did have some energy moving in myself, but overall, I thought, well, he's right here. Yeah, he said it helped him too. Do you want to say something?
No, just patience.
Hey, Travis, sounds like you're doing some good work.
I'm trying. It's all new to
awesome.
me, but thank you.
Well, I don't know. I remember that intensive you were at. You did some pretty deep stuff.
Sorry, that's Tyler. He's not in my life anymore. This is Travis.
My mistake.
Yeah.
I'll have to do a worksheet on embarrassment here. My error. It's been about what was it, about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. So my apology for it.
Yeah. Oh, we're okay. We're good.
Okay, good. Thank you. And good work anyway. Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, when you can stand with somebody in that much rage and bring a space of calmness. Of course, it sounds like maybe some attack energy came back on you, and so next layer of work for you, I guess, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Never used to have a lot of patience, so Andy's taught me some, and Michelle just further helped me in that's for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. From my perspective, we're doing good work in the world, and I think where I have a conflict, and maybe I'll reach out to you guys privately. Just curious about right action as far as holding accountable through the systems that are in place, and where and when and how that's appropriate and a good use of energy.
Right.
And
are you talking things like legally accountable?
Yeah. Yes. Or even if something is like, okay, I'll be ready. So maybe as simple as, having a conversation regarding this publicly. I think Michelle has some energy to work through, and I hear her making really valid points and observations, and I certainly witness it very clearly, and how to navigate holding people accountable.
Say that again. Holding.
How to navigate holding people accountable, or even just shining a light on it publicly, like what's happening, and how can we get people that are still doing behaviors like this. and then the I watched people like want to cover for the guy, and like, oh, he's really a good dude. Well, he's really a good guy. It's like, well, no, good guys don't treat little young girls like that. That's
right.
And not that there's goodness there. This is just like it was a situation, and
so the first place I'd start from all you've told me is rage is simply a drug that someone uses to cover their pain. So to me, the first order of business would be to invite the young lady who's in rage to clean up her rage, because an insane mind, and my take is any mind that isn't functioning out of love is insane, is never going to accomplish what they want to accomplish. You know, it's like, what's the first thing that most everybody wants to do with the abuser? Abuse them.
Yeah.
So
exactly
I'm trying to call somebody out for their abuse, and the way I want to call them out is by abusing them. Well, that's just called projection. So my first order of business would be for the young lady who wants vengeance and do rage. It's like, lady, you've got some work to do. Is what this man has done, and I have no idea what it was, but whatever it is it inappropriate? Great, then he needs to be held accountable, perhaps legally, perhaps through a court system. You know, I don't know what kind of situation's going on, but I'll tell you what, chances are probably 99 to 1 that you'll fail if you go after it in rage. So first order business, ma'am, would be step back, clean up your mind, get to a space where you're connected and you're rational, because the vengeance you want to take is probably the very vengeance that you're fighting in the world. And, you know, projection needs to end. And then out of a space of connectedness and love, if it's, you know, if I were that person, if it's my place to hold them accountable, whatever way it is, you know, whether it's legally or otherwise, then I'd step forward and do that. But doing it out of rage is never going to produce the result I want. That would be my input to someone.
Both Travis and I certainly knew that, and Avery is his daughter. She is 19 years old and is living with us. So I think if anybody was going to hold the man accountable, it would be her with our support.
Right.
And that would, you know, we all three of us stood here and held space for our own selves and our own experience, and Michelle. So this is a week ago today. I have spoke to her in text, but not in person. And I know as soon as you said to hold her lovingly accountable for rage and, you're in projection, I can feel my, like, tuck tail and run. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, rage is one. Most people think of anger and rage as feelings or emotions, but they're not emotions. They're anesthetics. They're always a cover for pain. And so the first order business to me would be, so let's take the person who's in pain and let's support them cleaning up their pain. Now that mind will often say, yeah, but you didn't see what he did. It's like, okay, I got it. I saw what he did. What he did was terrible, horrible, awful, ugly, nasty, illegal, immoral. But that's got nothing to do with the fact that you're in rage and you have a problem. And so if you're ever going to support cleaning up what's going on for the person, you know, you're saying needs to be held accountable, you have to come to it with a sane mind. And a raging mind is not a sane mind.
Here is the piece, and maybe you have, perhaps I could come up with it on my own, but since we've built this beautiful segue here, I guess I'll just ask. And I can feel I'm like literally hunching over, closing my heart down. So
that's why you take a breath and pulling your shoulders back, lifting your head up, and keeping your heart open.
In me, while Travis was, holding her, really holding us all so lovingly and gently through that experience, as I'm listening to her, I became acutely aware of all of the energy. So JC's dad,
Right.
who was the person that I was married to previously, he was abused as a child, sexually abused as a child, and I'm pretty sure he asked for support and told, I think it was his mom, personally, and
Right.
I think he got told to stuff it, and I know that is exactly what was coming at me. He couldn't see me when I was the projection board of all of that pain and anguish and despair. And
that's big stuff to move through.
And listening to Michelle, it was that same energy.
What's coming up for you right now? What's happening? What are you feeling?
I really, really just want him to feel better and to connect with the love that he is and know he never deserved that treatment. And neither did I.
And neither did you. There you go. Yeah. So it sounds like the unresolved pain in you was identifying with that unresolved pain that no one deserves, no human being ever deserved. Some of the stuff that's common everyday occurrence on the planet today. It's definitely time for that trauma to be worked through. For all of us.
Yeah.
So let your breath open. Sounds like a major chunk of grief coming up for you.
Yeah. I just know this life is supposed to be so full of joy and uninhibited joy.
Yes.
There's a nuthatch hopping around outside my window right now. That's us, guys. What are we doing over there? Let's solve that. Oh, yeah. It feels really good to be able to say it and share it and breathe deeper in my bronchioles.
It's definitely important. Because when that breath is being held, that's literally how we acquire a past about something. It's literally how we hook up the realities in our mind to past pain, and anything that resonates that pain is going to bring that reality forward once again. And if it's not forgiven, it just becomes the pattern of someone's life. It becomes a perpetual motion machine.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the depth of pain that she was in triggered a level of pain in yourself that took you back to the identification. With your son's father.
Yeah. I just want to help him, you know. And I cancel my goal to do any of that. Yep, I cancel my goal.
But before you can step in and help him with that, you're going to have to do your work around it. The part of you that identifies out of your pain with what he went through.
And so my goal is to
before
be rescued.
You could be the space of love. And chances are that your son has some of the same energetic pattern.
Yeah, for sure. So do you hear, so if I'm saying, like, I'm aware there's a goal running to help him, that I'm willing to cancel and let go of that creative pattern totally to help to rescue, but also I guess it would be like mirrored in my own desire for a savior, for a rescuer, for a Prince Charming, for
or to be the
ruler.
rescuer.
Yeah, I cancel my goal to be the rescuer, and I cancel my goal to be rescued. Cancel my goal for someone to save me from my pain. That's right there.
So how about a mind shifter? And we're down to the last minute or so.
Yes,
So
please.
if you've got a pen handy.
I do.
It's safe and healing for me to embrace every aspect of pain that resides within me.
Pain. Yeah.
And it sounds like you've got the blessing of a young man that's there to hold the space for you to do that piece of work.
He's really,
So that's awesome.
lovely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it. Breathe, be with it.
Oh my God, I am worthy and deserving, but I have to keep anchoring it in over.
Breathing with you, and this show is going to cut us off any second now, but just want to know that you to know that we're holding the space and breathing with you.
Thank you. I love and appreciate each of you and everyone on the show holding a space. Thank you all.
You've got it. All right, everybody. Appreciate you. Blessings. Have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Take care. Bye-bye.